August 12th, 30 BC. In a lavish chamber in Alexandria, the most powerful woman in the ancient world lay dying. Cleopatra the 7th, Pharaoh of Egypt, lover of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, the last ruler of a 3,000-year-old dynasty, was about to take her final breath. But how did she die? Was it really a snake bite, as legend claims? Or was the truth far more calculated? And why did her death mark the end of ancient Egypt itself? Today, we're uncovering the truth behind one of history's most iconic deaths and the fall of a civilization that lasted 3 millennia. Welcome to Chronicles of Time, where history's greatest stories come alive. Cleopatra wasn't just a queen, she was a survivor in one of history's most dangerous political games. Born in 69 BC, she became pharaoh at just 18 years old, ruling Egypt during the final days of its independence. But Egypt was surrounded by enemies. The Roman Republic, led by powerful generals like Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony, was swallowing up the ancient world piece by piece. Cleopatra knew that to save Egypt, she needed Rome. So she seduced its most powerful men, not with beauty alone, but with intelligence, charm, and political genius. She had children with Caesar. She formed an alliance with Mark Antony. Together, they dreamed of creating an empire that would rival Rome itself. But Rome had other plans. And one man, Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, would destroy everything Cleopatra had built. This is the story of her final days, her mysterious death, and the end of ancient Egypt. To understand Cleopatra's death, we need to understand the war that led to it. After Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, Rome plunged into civil war. Mark Antony, one of Caesar's generals, emerged as a power player. Cleopatra saw an opportunity. She seduced Antony, just as she had Caesar. Together, they ruled the Eastern Mediterranean like king and queen. They had 3 children. They held lavish ceremonies in Alexandria, where Antony declared Cleopatra the Queen of Kings and gave Roman territories to their children. Rome was furious. Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and Antony's rival, seized the moment. He declared war, not on Antony directly, but on Cleopatra. He painted her as a foreign seductress who had corrupted a Roman hero. The propaganda worked. In 31 BC, at the Battle of Actium off the coast of Greece, Octavian's navy crushed the combined forces of Antony and Cleopatra. Legend says Cleopatra's ships fled mid-battle, and Antony, blinded by love, abandoned his men to follow her. They retreated to Alexandria, but they both knew the truth. It was over. Octavian's army was coming, and there would be no mercy. In the summer of 30 BC, Octavian's forces surrounded Alexandria. Cleopatra and Antony were trapped. Their allies had abandoned them. Their armies were deserting. Egypt was falling. Desperate, Antony tried one last stand against Octavian's forces. He failed. False rumors reached Antony that Cleopatra had killed herself. Devastated, he fell on his own sword, the honorable Roman death. But the rumors were wrong. Cleopatra was still alive. Antony was carried, bleeding, to Cleopatra's chamber. Ancient sources say she pulled him up through a window using ropes, refusing to open the door for fear of capture. He died in her arms. Cleopatra was now alone. The love of her life was dead. Her children were in danger. Egypt had fallen, and Octavian was at her door. She knew what awaited her. Octavian planned to parade her through the streets of Rome in chains, a humiliating spectacle to celebrate his victory. Cleopatra, who had ruled as a goddess, who had commanded the wealth of Egypt, who had loved the most powerful men in the world, would be reduced to a trophy. She refused. On August 12th, 30 BC, Cleopatra made her final decision. She would die on her own terms. So how did Cleopatra actually die? The most famous version, repeated for 2,000 years, says she used a venomous snake. According to the ancient historian Plutarch, Cleopatra arranged for an aspi, an Egyptian cobra, to be smuggled into her chamber hidden in a basket of figs. She dressed in her royal robes, adorned herself with jewels, and lay down on a golden couch. Then she let the serpent bite her. The cobra's venom would have caused a relatively peaceful death, paralysis, then respiratory failure. Within hours, she was gone. Her two handmaidens, Iris and Charmian, died with her, possibly from the same snake, possibly from poison they took themselves. When Octavian's guards finally entered, they found Cleopatra dead, still wearing her crown, looking as regal in death as she had in life. But here's the problem with this story. Modern experts are skeptical. Why? Because cobra venom doesn't work that cleanly. Cobra bites are agonizing. Victims convulse, vomit, suffer. It's not the dignified death described in ancient sources. Also, how did a large, deadly snake get smuggled past Roman guards? And how did it manage to bite three women fatally without being noticed? Some historians believe Cleopatra used a different method entirely: poison. Ancient Egyptians were masters of toxicology. Cleopatra herself had reportedly experimented with various poisons on prisoners, studying which caused the quickest, least painful death. She may have used a mixture of hemlock, opium, and wolfsbane, a deadly cocktail that would cause a quiet, dignified death. The snake story might have been invented later, either by Cleopatra herself as a symbolic gesture or by Roman historians to make her death seem more exotic and dramatic. We'll never know for certain. What we do know is this: Cleopatra controlled her own death, just as she had controlled her own life. She refused to be Octavian's prisoner. She died a queen, not a captive. Cleopatra's death didn't just end her life, it ended ancient Egypt. She was the last pharaoh, the last ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty that had ruled Egypt for 300 years. When she died, Egypt ceased to exist as an independent nation. Octavian, soon to become Emperor Augustus, annexed Egypt as a Roman province. He took Egypt's vast wealth to fund his empire. He erased Cleopatra's name from monuments. He killed her son Caesarion, her child with Julius Caesar, to eliminate any rival claim to power. Egypt, which had been one of the world's greatest civilizations for over 3,000 years, became just another territory in the Roman Empire. The age of the pharaohs was over, but Cleopatra's legend lived on. The Romans painted her as a dangerous seductress who corrupted their heroes. Shakespeare immortalized her as a tragic lover. Hollywood turned her into a glamorous icon. But the truth is more complex. Cleopatra was brilliant. She spoke 9 languages. She was a skilled diplomat, a cunning politician, and a strategic thinker who nearly changed the course of history. She fought to preserve Egypt's independence in an era when Rome was conquering the world. She used every tool available to her: intelligence, wealth, alliances, even romance, to protect her kingdom. She didn't succeed, but she came closer than anyone else could have, and in the end she chose death over dishonor. That's not the story of a seductress. That's the story of a queen. So what really killed Cleopatra? A snake? Poison? Heartbreak? Maybe all three. What we know for certain is that on August 12th, 30 BC, the last pharaoh of Egypt died in Alexandria, and with her, an entire civilization came to an end. Egypt would never again be ruled by Egyptians. It would be Roman, then Byzantine, then Arab, then Ottoman, then British, always controlled by foreign powers. But Cleopatra's death proved one thing: even in defeat, she refused to surrender her dignity. She lived as a queen, and she died as one. What do you think? Was Cleopatra a tragic hero, or a ruthless politician who played a dangerous game and lost? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, subscribe to Chronicles of Time for more fascinating stories from the past. Next time, we'll explore the Library of Alexandria. Hit that like button if you learned something new today, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep exploring the Chronicles of Time.